Sir, go ahead. You have 4 minutes.
My name is Erik Randich, and I've been retained by Michelle & Associates to do an independent and objective scientific review of the church paper that makes the conclusion that ammunition is the principal source of lead exposure for the condors. I'm a metallurgist, so I approach this from an industrial lead standpoint and from an isotope ratio standpoint, and what could we do with these tools. Can I have my slides up there, please? Let's see. The key points that I'd like to bring up today are several, and they're outlined in my report, that the lead used for ammunition can't really be distinguished from the lead that's used in any other lead-containing product. That includes fishing sinkers, lead wheel weights, brass. Most of the brasses out there are free machining brasses that for plumbing parts and screws, they contain a 0.5% to 7% lead. Secondly, industrial lead has a much greater isotope ratio range than that shown by the church. They used a very selected and small portion of the data to represent the ammunition. Church also used incomplete environmental background data from their own references. And further, they ignored one of their references on lead ammunition. Isotope ratios alone cannot be used to address the likelihood that one lead source is the principal source or preferred source over another lead source. The forensic community does not use isotope ratios in courts of law for good reason. It can only be used to exclude and say they didn't come from the same lead source. But there's so many lead sources that have the same isotope ratio that you can't use it in a court of law. This is the figure 1 from the church article, which summarizes what they've done. They plot the level of the blood, or the level of the lead in the condor blood here versus the isotope ratio for the 207, 206. They have environmental lead at a relatively high number, 0.83, 0.84, we'll call it 83, 84, and their 19 bullets are over here at the 80 to 82 level. They draw a line and say, hey, as the blood level goes up, it approaches this low ammunition cluster over here from this high cluster over here. But the question that I came upon was, is this an accurate representation? And the answer is no. The actual ranges for industrial lead, if one looks into the forensic literature and the leaded gas industry, anything you'd like, look at the numbers here. Here's the forensic literature for ammunition: 76 to 86, 79 to 91, 85 to 103, 83 to 94. Look at 30 years of leaded gasoline. This is the tetraethyl lead that comes from the same lead smelters that make the ammunition. 81 to 86. You can't tell ammunition lead from any other lead coming from the same smelter. So why did Church use only 80 to 82 for the ammunition rather than true range? I don't know. If you look at the whole range for ammunition that's available in California today, it goes from 910 to 760. This whole range, not just this little cluster. So that's the real range over here. Again, if we look at the data for background from their reference Errol presented 15 data points, not just the 2 that Church used. Look at the numbers for 78 for the water, 77 to 80 for soil, whole rocks, 81 to 82. If you look at that and use the real environmental background data, it's this red line that's way off scale down here. So now we're faced with drawing a line from this cluster of data to this cluster of data, and you can see that you cannot draw a curvilinear line like this. It makes no sense. You could draw a line going up, going down, or straight across because it all overlaps. In other words, they used very selected information from their references. They did not give an accurate representation of their own references, and that's unforgivable. In summary, the actual data, and you can read this in reports, of background environmental lead and industrial leads are much larger than reported by Church. They do completely overlap, and rightly so. In fact, the 2 background data points they used were industrial lead caused, and that's explained in the Errol paper itself. If you do use complete and representative data, you cannot support the Church mathematical model, and you cannot support their conclusion that it's the principal source. It's just not defendable. It's an untenable conclusion, gentlemen.